Professor Mustafa receiving us in this beautiful restored city of Antalya in the early days of the new and international domains after this long interval. I also wish to express my sincere thanks to Her Excellency Mrs. Osman Erdogan, head of the APA Turkish delegation and representative of the APA president for her dedicated efforts and unwavering support and advancement of the APA programs. In fact, since 2000, National Assembly of Turkey took over the APA presidency, we have consistently benefited from the exercise of a wise and sagacious management over our organization under the commendable efforts of its president and his presidency in close cooperation with the APA Secretariat and in partnership with all its members, has successfully strived to infuse a new spirit and light into the development of parliamentary diplomacy by giving an edge to parliamentary activities. As a result of such great endeavors and close cooperation, most particularly during the period when the world was grappling with the grip of COVID-19 virus crisis, APA could inter alia draft the rules for virtual management of its programs and successfully convened meetings of the standing committees on a regular basis, along with the couples of webinars and on women and parliamentary research services under the auspices and unreserved support of its president. Ladies and gentlemen, on the other hand, benefiting from the potential capacity of the Bureau of the Assembly was a major breakthrough for revitalization, advancement of the the pandemic and even in later intervals. As a result of the initiative of the APA Secretariat and close cooperation of the APA presidency, the Grand National Assembly of Turkey generously hosted 2 Bureau sessions in Ankara in December 2020, avoid regular programs and based on the sustained efforts made to tackle the issue of presidency during the last 3 years, the APA Secretariat recommended Grand National Assembly of Turkey to maintain its full support of the organization as before and does its best to physically hold the meeting for the we were incumbent APA president who has time. I hope during this period we shall witness an all-inclusive collaboration on the part of all the best to introduce a new president for next term of 24-25. It is my fervent belief and hope that together we will continue to work hand in hand at all levels for our organization and among all our members and witness and an increased cooperative spirit in order to give and the future program with successful outcomes. No doubt the success and credibility of our organization hinges on synergy, cooperation, and collaboration among all members of APA family. Deciding to choose the overall theme for general debates at this meeting. During the period of transition to a new order followed by evolution of the international governance, multilateralism has fostered a collaborative environment for successful maintenance of international peace and security, ensuring stability, prosperity, and fair development of nations. In this context, parliamentary diplomacy can also play an active role as complementary diplomacy in addressing complex problems with the framework of parliamentary dimensions of international cooperation. As you may have duly noted, the current century has been called the Asian century, as well-known dichotomy indicating the influence of the nations and governments of the old continent, especially the emerging powers in regional and global equation. Under this premise, the Asian parliaments, as representatives of the Asian nations, can play a complementary role alongside the Asian governments in achieving common goals, using parliamentary diplomacy as a vital leverage in bilateral and multilateral arena. It was in light of this premise that the idea of parliamentary cooperation for peace in Asia was fostered through formation of the Association of Asian Parliaments for Peace at the end of the last century, and now the same goals are being pursued within the framework of the APA. In light of the foregoing, this regional parliamentary organization shall take up strengthening multilateralism as core essence of the roadmap to be followed by it in the agenda of its future programs in the coming decades. I conclude my remarks by thanking all the APA member parliaments who have earnestly supported us to develop our programs to our realization of parliamentary democracy with greater confidence ever than before and work ceaselessly together and the of our.
Distinguished Secretary General of APA. In order to extend the opening remarks, now I would like to give the floor to Professor and the head of APA. Thank you. Distinguished and valuable speakers of parliaments, distinguished acting speakers of parliaments, distinguished parliamentarians, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 13th plenary session. On this occasion, I would like to extend my thanks to you, and I would like to express my pleasure about your arrival and visit. As you will remember, the previous plenary meeting also took place here in Antalya, Turkey in 2019, and in fact that was also had very fruitful discussions. In the meantime, in fact, there was this pandemic that caused us very beautiful memories, and since then, it was not possible for us to meet again in another general plenary and assembly meeting. But now we are back in Antalya in a very sincere environment, and we have wide participation here. We are together again. We started our deliberations, and tomorrow. Changing global dynamics. I hope that will be a very auspicious meeting, and it will end up with very good results for our states and for our people. This is my wish from God. So, in this plenary, in fact, we most of the last four plenary sessions, and as Turkey, we have been Asian continent that indication important it is for us. So, as Turkey, we have a great love the continent of Asia and our friends in Asia, and that will keep going, and we will keep cherishing our relations. Distinguished friends, colleagues, last year, 2022, in fact, has been an important milestone for the humankind and human history. According to the calculations made on the 15th of November 2022, for the first time in history, the global population reached 8 billion. Between 1950 and 2020, in 70 years, in fact, the global population tripled. And today, 6% of this population is meeting here because that population lives in the Asian continent. In fact, five of the most crowded countries are Asian countries. In this geographical area, in Anatolia, in this territory, the increasing population symbolizes development and mobility, and it means prosperity and welfare. And also, with increased population, there are more opportunities brought up. However, there are also challenges to be encountered. We have to be aware of this, and we have to develop some measures in order to counteract these challenges. Economic crisis, pandemics, epidemics, drought, migration mobilities, racism and xenophobia increasing mostly in Western world. International multilateral companies circumventing the legislation, threats and global based searches and quests. Global threats are there for us. Of course, there is causality relation between all of these factors, and we have to deal with all these changing dynamics. Otherwise, the peace of our citizens, the stability of our countries will be threatened always. Distinguished guests, at regional and global level, we are facing all these calamities. Among them, terrorism is unfortunately is always. And in fact, in effective counteracting terrorism, we need to be showing a determined stance. And of course, in counteracting and combating terrorism, in order to get the results that we are looking for, we need international cooperation. And our country is fulfilling its commitments globally. We do not compromise from democratic values and human resources. PKK, YPG, PYG, FETA, and all and Daesh, all terrorist organizations are the organizations that are fighting against. So, in last November in Istanbul, there was this big attack of big, and I would like to thank those friends who gave condolences. So terrorism, conflict, violence, war, threats against human rights, and other reasons, in fact, caused more than 100 million around the world to migrate. And in fact, new methods moving, in fact, create new 2014, we have been hosting the highest number of refugees as Turkey. Unfortunately, the international community has not been sharing this burden fairly equally. comprehensive political system should be established in Afghanistan. The women are and welfare of expectation of the Afghan people. We another problem in the region is the humanitarian crisis in Myanmar. It is surmounting, and against the Muslims there is unproportional violence, and more than 1 million people had to flee their homeland. And against the Muslims, there is the systematic genocide, as we believe, and some permanent solution is needed. And more interest. Another issue is Palestinian issue. It is still there on the table, unsolved. And Palestinian-Israel conflict, in fact, started in 1967 at the capital Al-Quds. Should be there for an independent Palestinian state. This is a solution that we are looking for in the Middle East for permanent peace and stability to be established. International law and UN resolutions have to be followed, and that will give us a fair solution. We keep emphasizing this in every opportunity, and we will keep doing so. Of course, in our continent and in our regions, there are many other problems and issues, and it will take us very long to address all of these issues now at this floor. It is not possible because of time constraints, but I have to emphasize that Turkey stands by the victims in every case, and we will keep our stance. So, on the other hand, our continent and our region should not be mentioned with problems only. This is not right. Asia, in fact, is the future with its roots in the past, and it has been the cradle of many civilizations throughout the history. The cultures that are said to be dominating culture today, in fact, their heritage in our continent, and they were built on the assets of our continent. And in fact, we are building upon our assets as Asia. Now we are rebuilding ourselves, and we are on the rise again in Asia. So we're working for our future all together, for our continent, for our regions, for our countries, and most importantly, for our citizens. We would like to give a more livable, a more simple, more peaceful land, and we have this will. So as we have this joint will and as are acting in collaboration, I think we are doing a very important job in the global economy and sociology. Some very rooted changes are taking place and some challenges are there. There are place in period of time. This is such a period of time that as politicians, any action that we are taking or are not taking, any decision we are making or not, or sometimes smallest hesitation that we have great impact on citizens, individuals, societies, states, and global history. In fact, human some experiences are bleed us, but most of them are not. No matter what, there are still some valid and applicable principles. They will always be there. And one of the most important principles of such kind is our stance against injustice. So we should have this common position, and we should always avoid a chaotic environment that leads to violence as a resort to solve the conflicts. In such cases, a stronger hand is given to us, and hope is given to us with another key. This is multilateralism. Global problems and issues are sorted out with collaboration and multilateralism and joint efforts. global dynamics are changing, and multilateralism should be promoted as a historical liability. And this is also a a religious obligation for us. In fact, Allah, in fact, says in Holy Quran, in fact, collaboration is recommended for us, and consultation is recommended for the believers. And in international relations, we are looking for balance, dialogue, consultation, and diplomacy have always been our priority. Humanitarian, conscious, and transparent foreign policy is our policy. For Under the leadership of His Excellency Recep Tayyip Erdogan, our motto is that a new and fair world is possible. Global inequalities should be lifted. Multilateralism should be established in a more functional way. And these are our foreign policy objectives. Always repeat in my speeches that the motto uttered by His Excellency Erdogan, the world is greater than UN, other multilateral organizations, Security Council should be reformed in order to meet the needs of the day, and multilateralism should be established in a more functioning way, and that will be a huge step. The existing UN system is non-functioning.
Give the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Professor Mustafa over. Distinguished speakers of parliaments and deputy speakers and distinguished parliamentarians and distinguished Secretary General, distinguished guests. In this second part of our opening ceremony for the welcome addresses, I'll give the floor to the speakers of parliaments and deputy speakers of parliaments. So in alphabetic order of the name of their countries in English. First, we'll give the floor to the Speaker of National Assembly of Azerbaijan, Ms. Sahire Katarova. Over to you, Katarova.
Of the distinguished colleagues, ladies and Mustafa for Asian Parliamentary Assembly is a warm welcome and hospitality. The leadership of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey in the Asian Parliamentary Assembly for the last 5 years is highly commended with a clear expression of commitment and parliamentary cooperation. Honorable colleagues, our contemporary world has been facing the challenges that have become hard to deal with. The period of COVID-19 has only intensified the negative effects of problems affecting all spheres of human life, such as poverty, humanitarian social tensions, economic inequalities, and climate change. But I believe the main outcome of the past 2 years has been about the approach taken by a global community in relation to these problems. Tendencies like vaccine nationalism, gaining unfair economic advantages, have shown inefficiency of the unilateral approach adopted by some toward post-pandemic period and unity gain importance as never before. Despite coming under pressure, past experiences have taught us that there is no alternative to multilateralism. Yes, it needs serious refinements in order to meet today's challenges, which I will touch upon later in my speech. But only by mobilizing our efforts and staying true to international cooperation, we can find ways out of complex challenges. I strongly believe that it is exactly at this point where parliamentary diplomacy gets an opportunity to unlock its full potential. Distinguished colleagues, having already shown there over the past years, today international parliamentary platforms have become an important element of multilateralism by supporting collective efforts and joint actions. We parliamentarians, as the representatives of our people, have a that concern all of us. And parliamentary cooperation platforms prove our commitment and determination to work together for a better world. In this sense, the Asian Parliamentary Assembly plays an important role. It brings together parliaments of Asia and provides a framework for dialogue, generation of new ideas and perspectives for greater and closer cooperation. A vast and diverse Asia region offers many opportunities that we can and should use. As the chairperson of the parliamentary network of the Non-Aligned Movement, which was established by the initiative of the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, network shares the same vision and principles and is ready to cooperate with Asian Parliamentary Assembly for the common goals. Colleagues, as I stated above, today's multilateral system needs serious refinements that will benefit all countries. What is needed? First and foremost, norms of international law should be strictly and fully observed. The multilateral system should refrain from double standards. Their decision and resolution should be Yerevan was made the capital of Armenia in 1920 from Azerbaijan next in geographical separation and Turkey. Unfortunately, the Azerbaijani people were subjected to deportation several times throughout the 20th century. Deportation took place in 19, which I have mentioned before. As in Karabakh, the Armenian historical and religious in the Western Azerbaijan and the names of sites. During the last century, it was done consistently with the aim of erasing historical heritage in these lands. Honorable colleagues, occupation, I would like to remind that during all these years, Azerbaijan tried to solve the conflict by peaceful means. However, 4 resolutions adopted by the UN 93, resolutions and decisions of other relevant international withdrawal of the armed forces of Armenia from Azerbaijan's occupied territory. But we didn't know that some resolution of the United Nations implemented within hours and days. In the case of Azerbaijan, they remained unfulfilled for 27 years. Using defense provided by the Article 51 of the UN Charter, and at the cost of the lives of almost 3,000 of martyrs, Azerbaijan implemented the United Nations Security Council resolutions, norms and principles of international law, and restored Azerbaijan restoration and reconstruction works in the liberated territories in the framework of the Great Return Program. All our former internally displaced persons will return to their homes, and this process has already started. And I would like to share with you my firm belief that the rights of the Western Azerbaijanis will also be restored, and they will return to their native lands. Ladies and gentlemen, being the victim of occupation It is Azerbaijan that makes efforts to ensure long-term peace and stability in the region and has proposed to Armenia to normalize relations and sign a peace agreement on the basis of 5 principles of international law. However, Armenia has been grossly violating the trilateral statement of November 10, 2020 that put an end to the conflict. It has still withdrawn its armed forces from the territory of Azerbaijan and has been using the Lanch Road for the military purposes, transportation of mines and looted natural resources of Azerbaijan. During the years of occupation, Armenia planted more than 1 million mines in these territories and still continues to do so. Since the end of the Second Karabakh War, almost 208 Azerbaijanis have been killed or seriously injured as a result of mine explosions. While showing destructive position in the negotiations, Armenia has also been disrupting the process of opening of communications and transport roads, despite the undertaken obligations. The opening of the Zangezur corridor, which will become a new transport road along the middle corridor connecting Asia to Europe, will greatly increase cooperation in transport and trade in the region beyond. Honorable colleagues, at the end of my speech, I would like to express my hope that this plenary session, our discussions, will give
Respected parliamentary delegates, ladies and gentlemen, at the outset, I would like to express my participating in the important APA plenary session. At the same time, I would also like to appreciate the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, particularly its Speaker, my dear Top, for their great efforts and arrangements to host this meeting. The APA distinguished Mr. Secretary General the documents and Mr. living in different parts of the world. These challenges include climate change, pandemics, terrorism, and aggression by imperial powers, violation of human rights, migration. Taking into account the current global circumstances, all of us should feel responsible to resolve these challenges and promote a joint effort to build a common future. To overcome challenges, humanity has no other option but to resort to integration and cooperation. Considering its current position in global affairs, Asia can play a serious and crucial role to resolve the global problems. In recent years, Asian Asia has witnessed a significant and high growth and development, which is in fact moving in line with. We are in need of a new and fair international order with Asia as its main focus. In this regard, it is crucial to remain committed to the idea of multilateralism as a pattern for Asian cooperation. At the same time, it is required to be committed to some fundamental principles, including the respect of sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states, supporting non-interference in internal affairs of other countries, respect to right of nations to make independent choices, and effective opposition to unilateralism and occupation. Mr. President, if we as Asian nations deliver our responsibilities adequately during the impacts of our actions will not be exclusive to our old continent. Positive changes worldwide and will bring about global peace, security, and welfare. To this end, we should pay sufficient attention to dire needs of all Asian countries and ensure practical cooperation on key areas of reduction of poverty, food security, funding, balanced development, and industrialization in order to realize fair and balanced development for all Asian countries. Increasing Parliament cooperate with the Secretariat and participants. In recent years, we have all witnessed that the U.S. unilateral approach has damaged the global peace and security. At the same time, we have the leader of the world of Islam and Shiism, His Eminence, demonstrates that through mutual cooperation, countries resist against such attacks which target countries. We are at the anniversary of the unfair assassination General Soleimani is a clear and definite instance of state terrorism. Trump and all his accomplices in this inhuman act have definite international responsibilities against this big crime and must be held accountable before authorized courts and human conscience. homeland and establishment of a fair peace. In conclusion, I would like to restate the principled belief of the Islamic Republic of Iran that in order to overcome the existing challenges and realizing our common objectives, particularly to strengthen multilateral, our parliaments representing our nations can play a significant role. I, on behalf of the respected MPs of the Islamic Consultative Assembly of Iran, express the full readiness of the Islamic Republic of Parliament to consolidate and strengthen cooperation and interaction with our counterparts from other Asian parliaments. In this regard, it is noteworthy that the Islamic Consultative Assembly of Iran has tabled a draft resolution on promoting cooperation among the Asian Parliamentary Assembly member states to expand and consolidate multilateralism. Its adoption by the APA would pave the ground for the evolution of cooperation among APA member states and expansion of multilateralism in Asia. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Galibaba. Now, I'd like to give the floor to the Speaker of the National Assembly of Timor-Leste, Aniceto Longius Uteris Lopez is kindly invited to the floor. Over to you, please.
His Excellency Professor Mustafa Sentop, Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey and President of the 13th APA. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the people of Timor-Leste, allow me to offer my New Year greetings and deep gratitude for the invitations to be present to the plenary, which take place in Antalya, the old city, or known as a Kalechi, where Asian countries meet to share common perspectives on the importance of how we are promoting the theme of the plenary on the ongoing challenges facing the world. Challenges that the last 3 years added to the existing climate change are placing the war in reconfiguring its social and economic perspective. Inclusive and sustainable development, such as global health pandemic, climate change, widening inequalities, and economic insecurity. Unfortunately, in the face of these unprecedented global challenges, international cooperation, public attacks and war in Ukraine affect our social and economic sector in Timor-Leste. Food food prices increased by 8.2% in September, and price oil increased by 21%. And these measures as well as through the allocation of public transport operator. We recognize the importance of continuing to keep the peace in this growing rising trend across all countries. Preventing, creating, and maintain peace is an arduous task that can take years to accomplish. We emphasize the importance of investing much more in conflict prevention, prefer to prioritize will play a more active commercial relationship with other countries, all of which are crucial to maintaining commitment in the struggle for peace and stability. To adopt the document on human fraternity for world peace and His Eminence the National Parliament anonymously voted in favor of adopting the document as a national document. It has been shared with our national authorities as well as the Catholic Church and other religious groups, and it has been introduced into the school curriculum. In fact, this document is in line with the values and principles of our Constitution. In conclusion, I'd like to reaffirm that the war in Ukraine and COVID-19 pandemic constitute both the virus all countries are affected. Global within global within their nature and complexity. In this regard, it requires renewed political will and solidarity to end the war in Ukraine. Urge accelerating recovery from the effect of COVID-19, allocating more resources to climate mitigation, and achieving the sustainable development goals. This will ensure that all of our citizens, including women, children, and elderly, can benefit and respect humanity based on for world peace and common life. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Chok the secular.
Thank you, Mr. Lotus. Speaker of Yemen House of Representatives, Sultan Al-Barkani, the floor is yours.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. معالي السيد البروفيسور مصطفى شنتوب رئيس المجلس الوطني الكبير بالجمهورية التركية.
Distinguished Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Mustafa Shentop, and the head of APA, distinguished speakers of parliaments, distinguished MPs, the distinguished participants. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Likewise, I would like to congratulate you. Thank the Turkish Parliament for their hospitality and for this nice organization. Thank you very much. Well, yes, to give you the greetings of a suffering nation. There's bloodshed over there. And of course, by the way, as you know, you have been in solidarity with the people of Yemen, and our people has been troubled, and there has been bloodshed for a time. And in fact, the head of the Presidential Council and other parliaments sent you their greetings, and I, in fact, am pleased to convey their greetings to you. Here we are in a session, in a meeting that we have a great belief in. We believe that the needs and requirements of our nation, the sorrow of our nation will be addressed in this meeting, hopefully. And in fact, of course, we are addressed in this meeting, hopefully. And in fact, of course, we are here today with expectations from this organization and other organizations. So as we get our full independence, we'll be ready to fulfill our full obligations. And from the deep of our heart, in fact, we have believe in you and we have love for you. We believe that you will be supporting us politically significantly. We are asking for your collaboration. And consolidation and solidarity. As you know, solidarity affected. Solidarity with your brothers and sisters. All our members of the parliament are at risk. They face the threat of death. The Yemeni people are looking for democracy and justice. Well, we are looking for resolutions to be made and just looking for democracy and justice. Well, we are looking for resolutions to be made. And militia and actions need to be condemned. All international conventions and our religion are being violated. These are criminal acts against all of these. So the Yemenis people are still suffering. This suffering has been going on for a decade. Now it's time to hold it and stop it. Let's stop it. Our people is looking for a good life, a secure life, welfare. And under this parliamentary assembly, please support who deserves the support.
Afghanistan Speaker is going to take the floor.
Salam.
Good morning, distinguished participants. His Excellency, Secretary General of the Asian Parliament Assembly, Mohammed Reza Majidi, and His Excellency, the Speaker of the Grand National Assembly of Turkey, Head of the Asian Parliament Assembly, Mustafa Şentop.
Misafirperverliğinizden dolayı mutluluğumuzu dile getirmek isteriz. Değerli katılımcılarımız Sayın Serdar Berdi Muhammedov'un önderliğinde tarafından
Dear participants,
kalıcı tarafsızlık statüsü
under the leadership of our esteemed President Serdar Gurbanalievich Berdimuhamedov, Turkmenistan, whose legal status of permanent neutrality twice recognized by the United Nations, full of relations with all interested foreign partners on a bilateral and multilateral within the framework of international and interregional organizations. The countries of the world, as well as today's Assembly's participating colleagues representing countries, support the most the adoption of the resolution 2023, the International Year of Dialogue as a guarantee of peace at the 45th General Session of the 77th Session of the United Nations General Assembly by the initiatives of our country and with the co-authorship of 68 countries. Turkmenistan attaches significant importance to energy, transport and ecology, as well as cultural humanitarian diplomacy in the international area. Today, the provision of energy resources and the creation of modern transport corridors have a positive impact on the improvement of the economic conditions of all countries. Distinguished participants, our country, which has declared in its constitution that the most valuable value of the society and the state is a person, creates favorable conditions for the fulfillment of tasks on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Within the framework of these activities, creation of opportunities for caused by the drying up of the Aral Sea, developing the green economy, through parliamentary diplomacy. The Speaker of the People's Council of the Milli Gengesh of Turkmenistan, in the future, we work. We firmly believe that these activities will have a positive impact on further development of interstate cooperation in the fields of trade and economy, energy, transport, environmental protection, science and education, sports, health, tourism, and enriching them with new content. Dear colleagues, we confidently believe that the initiatives of the Asian Parliamentary Assembly to find a solution to common problems in the world will be highly supported. At the end of my speech, I wish you all great success and good health in your humanitarian and responsible works. Thank you for your attention.
Konuşmaları için Sayın Mehmetoğlu'ya teşekkür ediyorum.
Thank you very much for your speech. Now we have completed the speeches of the speakers of the parliaments. Now we are going to give the floor to the distinguished Chairman Mustafa Şentop, distinguished Chairman of Asian Parliamentary Assembly, Rıza Mescidi, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, may the mercy be upon you. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to Turkey. We are friends, and I would like to thank Turkey Parliament for hosting 13th General Assembly plenary session of the Asian Parliamentary Assembly. And Turkey has contributed hugely for the success of the activities of APA and for their great efforts. As this is us joining for the first time to this plenary session, we had a chance to know about the previous activities of the APA. Iraq has a membership, active membership in this assembly. In 2019 in Baghdad, there was a meeting held and we participated in that meeting and we hosted that meeting, which shows that we really attach great importance to the activities of the APA. In the meetings to come, in order to improve ourselves, this is not going to be limited to only protocol meetings. In order to have an impact on the lives of people, we will continue exerting our efforts. We are here today on behalf of Iraqi people, distinguished brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. You are already knowledgeable about the challenges that the world is facing right now. The situation in Asia is changing and some countries have become much more important in the economy of the world. In order to carry this holy continent to a further position, we need to be making use of our human resources, make better use of our resources. We have experienced many crises, and we had presidential election in Iraq, and many legislative processes were completed in a challenging atmosphere. Iraq has overcome the security issues, and Iraq is now free of ISIS right now, and Iraq has become more powerful when compared to the past. In the economical, in financial and developmental areas, we have taken important steps, and especially with our brother and sister countries, we would like to foster our cooperation on the basis of respect, and we are going to reinforce them. A couple of days ago, as you know, in Iraq, a championship, world championship started, and the opening ceremony was great. Ladies and gentlemen, to give its unwavering support to Palestine, and we would like to utter it once again. We will do our best to support our brother country, Palestine, and we will also do what falls on our shoulders in the activities of the APA, and we are ready to give the support to APA to reinforce its activities. Dr. Mejidi, General Secretary, I would like to thank you because of the efforts that he has shown. May Allah grant us with success, and I hope that this session is going to be of God be upon.
Now, Jordan Parliamenter Ahmet Halayla will be speaking. Yes, sir.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Greetings be upon Holy Muhammad, ladies and gentlemen, speakers of the parliament. May Allah's greetings be upon you. In the beginning, on my behalf and on behalf of the Jordan delegation, I would like to express our gratitude, our appreciation to our brother and friendly country, Turkey, for this wonderful organization and for Asia, for the regional efforts, particularly Professor Dr. Mustafa Şentop, the APA chairman and the Turkish Speaker of the House. And in the changing international dynamics, encouraging promoting multilateralism is very important in the changing global dynamics. And naturally, when you look at it, rather than development, investments are made in arms. And in such an equation, talking about collaboration, and indeed in practice we see that the situation is just the opposite. In the post-COVID stage, we see how people are impacted and how countries are suffering for food and pharmaceutical needs, and multilateralism is very important in this context, and unilateralism is just the opposite. And in this regard, King Abdullah has extended great support, and there are two major goals here. The challenges that Jordan has undergone, as well as the post-war and the post-conflict stage of Jordan. In general, we see that people are acting in a power-driven manner, and in order to fulfill, they are acting just to fulfill their desires, disregarding international decisions. So therefore, causing devastation, particularly for the Palestinian cause, Palestinian people. And on Palestinian land, there is an oppressive attack disregarding the Palestinian people. And these decisions made do not affect Palestine only, but it disturbs Jordan and the kingdom. And millions of Muslims and also Christians are disturbed. Us as Jordans, it disturbs us. We do not accept the humanitarian violations and the sacred lands. That is the land of the prophets, and it is the Islam history, the Christian history, and we're against the Palestinian lands being turned into Jewish lands. So the Holy Land, all these violations are being made in the eyes of the entire world in a tyrannical way. We see these tyrannical behaviors. So, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Jordan is living, Jordan is in a land where instability is the dominant, but nevertheless, it was able to maintain its stability, trying to keep away from terrorism to the extent possible, and it has remained away from conflicts and problems, and millions of refugees were hosted, and it opened its doors to millions of Syrian refugees in compliance with international rules and rules of moral rules. And this conference and this meeting is also emphasizing, I would like to emphasize in this conference and meeting, that all countries need to fulfill their duties. So if in a this distribution, had it been made in a just and balanced and fair way, and if people had not faced this oppression, we would know that all humanity will live in welfare. Stability will prevail in the region, and hopefully, inshallah, projects will be carried out across the region. In Jordan, under the kingdom rule, there are many decisions that are made for women, for young people, paving the opportunities, paving the path for opportunities. And the parliaments are being shaped, and political parties have been paved the path, and there are political reforms that are being made. We see it clearly, and we are taking more suitable steps. At the end of my speech, I wish you success, and inshallah, decisions will further contribute to international collaboration. May Allah be great. Mr. Halayla. And now, the Palestinian National Council Deputy Chairman, Mr. Ali Ahmed Faisal, will take the floor. Yes, sir. Distinguished Chairman, Professor Dr. Mustafa Şentop, we would like to thank you. We would like to thank Turkey for their for hosting us, all the speakers of the parliaments, MPs, and the attendees. Palestinian lands, and Palestine is a country that is under occupation. And there are many countries where blood is shed, and the history dates back to thousands of years ago. And we are faced with a Zionist occupation. The people, the children, and all the against the very last occupation in the world. Indeed, we are people that is subject to discrimination and racism. And as you know, the people of Palestine, their rights, their identities, we are all indeed waiting for independence. And we are standing straight, and we are standing against terrorism. We have had tens of thousands of martyrs, and independence and freedom is our right. And Palestinian people who have been taken captive, and they are suffering and combating diseases, and they are rotting in jails under different conditions. And a majority of them are, and as you know, it is our biggest goal, and Al-Quds should be the eternal capital city of our state. It should be the capital city of Palestine, and as you know, it's the fact that is he has entered Masjid al-Aqsa with a big power and force. And likewise, they have forcefully entered Masjid al-Aqsa, and we're saying that Al-Quds is our capital city, will remain so no matter what. And now, here we are telling you that APA Palestinian people, and we all hear, and there are, this is under this roof of APA, it is our wish that under these headings that are discussed here, in the changing global should bend to international double standards, and likewise in law, legislation, and international society organizations. What significance do they have if we are unable to do anything, if we cannot stop the attackers and the perpetrators? So therefore, we are subject, this occupation is the paramount of terrorism, and leading with the UN, they are giving all the support to us. We want to get back and retrieve their identities back, because they want to turn us into Jews and occupants. All their support to fulfill the Zionist discourse. And is of utmost the Israeli practices, and the oppression is increasing every single day, and we're losing martyrs, and there are children, there are women who are martyred every single day, and the enemy soldiers are shooting all these murders in very, very cold manner. And as you know, Gaza it's like a jail where all people are kept, but our people want their rights back, and they will keep fighting to this end. And Israel is violating international laws, and the Palestinian Independence Organization and the Israeli state agreements and the Oslo agreement are being violated and disregarded. And what's important here is, because Israel is continuing to do so, they need to be tried for this, and the Palestinian state needs to be built, and the 1967 borders need to be respected, and the Palestinian people in all aspects of life, they are maintaining their efforts, and they are trying to stand against this occupation. We are requesting the entire world to cooperate with us, and this is essential for the stability of the region as the entire world in Syria, Afghanistan, Ukraine, as well as many other countries. They are thinking of Israeli interests and their own interests, and they want to dominate the world, and they are implementing economic embargoes. So they are maintaining these policies against those. And with the new international migrations, they want a new world order. And so with multilateralism should be the opposite of a one unipole state. People should embrace their independence, and we want Jula to be returned to us, as well as all the other occupied lands to be returned to Greece. I would like to thank APA and the brother and friendly parliaments for all their supports extended to the Palestinian cause particularly. And Palestine is indeed deserves, they just want their deserved rights back, and the Palestinian people, this is it's not only a matter of a violation of an agreement, and it's a political issue, it's an humanitarian issue. So there are people suffering, so and they are trying to withstand the occupation. And Palestine should be a full member of the UN, and it should receive full support. It should be a member of all international organizations and entities. And in the Hague Justice Court, as well as the International Court of Crime, it should these decisions should be respected, and those committing the occupation of Israel and those committing the murders should be tried in these courts. And finally, it is very important that all these settlement policies should be ended, and they are committing apartheid, which should be this should be ended also. And in 2016 of the United Nations Security Council should be respected and implemented, and our national identity should be returned. We're claiming it back, and there's a Palestinian people there with their deserved Palestinian state. And another article is that particularly the Israeli group, as well as the we would like to, we're calling out an invitation for a boycott for Israeli goods, and also the June 4 boundaries should be respected, because the lands of Al-Quds is an inseparable part of the Palestinian state, and therefore the demographic structure of Palestine, as well as all those relevant efforts to undermine it, should be ended. And this regarding all the rights and all these attacks must end. And the UN security rules should be recognized and implemented. And as you know, Gafir and had raided Masjid al-Aqsa, and this oppression should end. And another end is all those that are detained and under arrest, and activity should be leading with the sick people, the children and the women, and those under administrative surveillance must be released, particularly the lives of those who are captive should be secured, and our martyrs are being kept in the morgues for years, and they say they will be kept waiting, and after a legal sentence is issued or a verdict is issued, they will be released. Since 1980, the bodies of our martyrs are not being returned to us, and they are being kept in the morgues, in refrigerated rooms, and this is murder. And indeed, this is also, and they are assigning numbers to our martyrs, reducing them to mere numbers. Yes, the refugees should be supported, and they should be returned to their lands, and a parliamentary committee should be created. I would like to thank APA a lot for having created the Palestine Committee, which is proof of the importance they are attaching to us. And as you know, apartheid policies should also be terminated, and our people should be able to determine their lands, and the Palestine Independence Organization is the mere representative of the Palestinian people, and we need a Washington representative office to be opened. And we want to remove from the USA terrorism list, because they are representing the Palestinian people, and it is also in the nature of a parliament. And I would like to thank who support us, who are in collaboration with us, who listen to us, and inshallah we will be hosting you and welcoming you in Al-Quds as the capital of
myself. Now I will give the floor to Russia Federation Deputy President of the Assembly, Mr. Genel. The floor is yours.
Dear colleagues, finally, Finally, after 2 years of the pandemic, we have managed to get together in the framework of the Asian Parliamentary Assembly. And virtually today's session is the beginning of implementing of our habitual formats of work, when we can meet, look at each other, discuss certain aspects, and take decisions that our citizens are waiting for. I would like to thank you for hospitality and great organization of this event by the Grand National Assembly of Turkey. And I would like to say thank you to President of the APA, His Excellency, Mr. Mustafa Shentop. Of course, API will help us elaborate optimal solutions because we will not be able to do it without a dialogue. Of course, nothing will
Göreceksiniz değil mi? Rusça, İngilizceye çevrilecek.
1, 2, 3, sound check. One, two, three, sound check.
The Turkish language interpretation couldn't be.
Rusçadan İngilizceye çeviriyor. Tamam. Türkçe şey yapmıyorlar. İngilizceden.
The interpretation is not fed to the interpreter's booth.
Проблема с переводом.
Do you have a problem with interpretation? Thank you. I guess we had problems with interpretation. I'm sorry for that. The topic of our discussion and the topic of the session is promoting multilateralism in the changing global dynamics, and it is totally in line with the current situation. New challenges and menaces in the conditions of the world order which is being formed, the of this pandemic, importance of assurance of global growth and effective counteracting climatic changes requires joint efforts not only from the governments of the world, but also of the international community, as well as usage of intellectual and creative potential of the civil society. Undoubtedly, parliaments are to play a very important role in that. Their authority and capability to strike a balance of interests and to find compromises can and already play a stabilizing role for the whole system of international relations, and they make it flexible, sustainable, predictable in the transition towards a new paradigm of the world management. In this context, there is a serious concern in terms of a practice of using by certain states of restrictive measures of discrimination nature vis-à-vis certain parliamentarians. Usage of sanctions which are politically motivated against lawful participation of deputy delegations in the work of international organizations is totally unacceptable. Such practice counteracts fundamental principles of democracy and creates artificial barriers, blocks productive activity of those elected by the people on international platforms, and hinders cooperation and undermines foundations of trust, global and regional security. That is why a special role in international communication must be played by forming a culture of mutual respect and search for optimal balance. When different national interests are taken into account, we need to use in a better way bilateral and multilateral mechanisms of parliamentary diplomacy to define optimal recipes to overcome the global crisis. There are many places in the world where we still witness big-scale human tragedies. Stopping what is happening in Syria, Iraq, Libya, Afghanistan, and in other countries that have been suffering from interference of the so-called collective West is the task which requires joint efforts, and parliamentarians must take an active part in it. Colleagues, we need to develop the potential of the Assembly to react to challenges that our countries are facing. The world is to be multipolar. The United States of America are trying to slow down development of other countries to maintain their hegemony. It concerns all our countries. That is why we think it is important to define our own position, to do all we can to protect our sovereignty, to do our best for people to live in peace, and of course to develop relations based on principles of non-interference in internal affairs of sovereign states. We see that Washington and Brussels are using different methods. They are introducing unlawful sanctions, they blackmail, they intimidate, they foment conflicts, they try to destroy our traditional values, traditions, history. Obvious why they're doing it. They want to pull out a person from their family and to leave people face to face with their problems and then make them dependable and manage them, control them in the interests of their states, in the interests of preserving their domineering position. And of course, all of it will be done at the expense of other countries, at the expense of people who are living in other countries. In these conditions, we need to find a common solution to provide informational security of countries members of APA and world as a whole. We need to protect traditional values that unite us and protect people from the destroying propaganda and reinforce digital sovereignty of our countries. The USA and the countries of the European Union are used to interfering in internal affairs of other countries, and we see what it is leading to. When we take an example of Ukraine, it became a colony of America, and then the country lost its independence, and Washington is using it as a tool of fight against Russia, trying to undermine security in Eurasia. Today, the Kiev Nazist is committing terrorist acts against civil population. They bombard critical infrastructure of nuclear electric stations, power stations. It may become a tragedy, nuclear catastrophe. We need to do our best to prevent such situations. I want to remind you that Russian specialists have identified military and biological activities of the USA in Ukraine. And it was confirmed that the USA violated a convention on the prohibition of the development, production, stockpiling, and use of chemical weapons. And Washington, in its satellites, blocked acceptance by the Security Council of the UN of resolution elaborated for our country on creating a commission to investigate crimes. Military and biological activities of Washington are a menace for all the humanity. Colleagues, it is important to elaborate effective measures to assure security of our people. The Russian parliament addressed its foreign colleagues with a statement about unacceptability of developing biological and toxin weapons. Emergence of new hotspots, terrorism, and more sophisticated financial and economic crimes, including transborder crimes, are a menace not only for national security, but also for the foundation of democracy, parliamentarism, and governance of law and human rights. In these conditions, Westerners impose their system of values, and it provokes tension. It worsens interstate conflicts. It foments national and religious strife. Our efforts are driven to implementing common norms of the UN Charter of Universal Principles, Sustainable Development, and such uniting approaches of Russia will always get unwavering support. And it means that it is a good way to follow. Colleagues, I wish to all of us good and fruitful work. I thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederim Sayın.
Thank
شنقوب رئيس البرلمان التركي أو رئيس مجلس الأمة التركي المحترم أصحاب المعالي والسعادة أعضاء الجمعية
Distinguished Speaker of the Parliament and friends, I would like to welcome all of you. And as you know, I have been very impressed by the speeches of my previous colleagues. We've heard some great speeches. And here there was one speech about bullet as well. And we are all here today. And before anything, if there is pain, if there is suffering, we need to alleviate that. We need to work together. We need to act in unity so that we can achieve our desired goals. And all of the speeches here have been very important today. We will deliver them to the press. And everything that we speak here will be covered by the press. But when we go back to our countries, it will be all forgotten, unfortunately. Things we are taking action, and as you know, between people and between governments, there are some actions being taken, and some people suffer. Children suffer, for example. If a child, let's say, dies in an hospital, that is a responsibility on all of us, and we would be all to blame. So for that reason, from APA and from the General Assembly, I would like to call upon both these organizations to improve and enhance parliamentarian diplomacy. For a very long time, I can definitely say that we have suffered greatly from the weakness of parliamentary diplomacy, from the weakness of these activities. So to alleviate all this pain and suffering, I call upon all of you, and we also need to deliver a message to our countries, to our governments. In Oman, we have the Ministry of Religious Affairs. They organize a lot of meetings, a lot of conferences to disseminate the message of Islam. And it also says in Quran that we created you in tribes, we created you in communities. So get to know one another, familiarize with each other. And this is the message that we also want to deliver. And us as government, we need to deliver this message through academia, through universities as well. And what's going on in Qatar is a very important example. As you know, the World Cup was held there. And let's talk about human rights, for example. Of course, it is important that we safeguard freedoms, fundamental human rights, and freedoms of the country all around the world. And this is what the Asian Parliamentary Assembly should also do. Let's give a lot of priority to economic cooperation and all other types of cooperation. Only then we can overcome all these challenges. Thank you very much, Mr. Aharti. So this concludes the speeches in this session. I would like to thank all of our guests, speakers, and vice contribution. So the General Assembly, as you know, started yesterday.
We would like to invite speakers and vice speakers onto the stage so that we can get a family photograph. First, I would like to invite speakers and vice speakers of Asian Parliamentary Assembly
countries and honorable vice speakers to the stage for family photo. Şimdi de değerli delegasyon başkanlarını aile fotoğrafı için sahneye davet ediyoruz. Ve delegasyon üyelerini de sahneye davet ediyoruz.
We can also
invite honorable heads of delegations and members of delegations to the stage for family photo. Değerli konuklarımız, böylelikle açılış töreninin sonuna geldik. Toplantımız saat 14'te genel kurul oturumuyla devam edecektir. Katılımınız için teşekkür ediyoruz. Distinguished guests, we have come to the end of our opening ceremony. Our meeting will continue with the plenary session at 2 p.m. Thank you for your kind attention.